about how it ends. Because on one end, you're kind of like, you feel kind of cheated out of it, you know? You're like, hey, what happened to the bride? But then it has such an iconic ending of the monster saying, we belong dead, and pulls down the lever.
Welcome to your local Cineplex with your friendly neighborhood hosts, René Gomez and Zak Dennis.
Word of friendly warning. This episode might thrill you, shock you, or even horrify you. So if any of you feel you don't want to subject your nerves to such a strain, you can stop listening. If not, then we warned you.
Welcome back to your local Cineplex with your hosts, Zak and
René! I'm here.
Whoa, where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
I'm back to talk about Universal's monster films. Which one are we talking about today, Zak?
Today, we're talking about The Bride of Frankenstein.
Woo! You know, it took me a while to watch that movie for some reason. So I watched Frankenstein when I was like in middle school, and I didn't watch Bride of Frankenstein until like early high school for some reason. Even though I know a lot of people, and I'm not sure about myself yet, but a lot of people like Bride of Frankenstein more than the original Frankenstein. Because it's like technically the story is so Frankenstein is more classic. That's undeniable. Right. But as a film by itself, critically, Bride of Frankenstein did better. Just because I guess it had more
I see what you're saying, yeah. It was established by then, which you kind of have to go, well, that's credit to Frankenstein. The only reason why The Bride was as well received was because the groundwork has been laid.
This is equivalent to The Winter Soldier.
Yes.
Which is crazy because I consider the Universal monster films to be like the original cinematic universe.
They are.
Technically.
They are.
So
technically, they are.
We've gone full circle from having monsters take over cinema to having superheroes take over cinema.
Were you bummed when Universal basically pulled the plug?
Yes.
On that? Yeah, on the
Dark Universe?
Yeah, the Dark Universe.
I was really sad about that, dude.
Well, I mean, I know there's like changes to what they're thinking, but so the pulling the plug, I think that was pulling the plug on the idea of it being a very verbatim kind of MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so instead, they're going to go more, I guess, more Stephen King-esque.
Oh, where it's like they connect, but they don't. Like, at the same time, they kind of don't.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how the original was. I mean,
well,
you had the stories.
First,
yeah.
Yeah, so, because at first it was a lot of like, Frankenstein, Dracula, and all that. And then later on with movies like House of Dracula or House of Frankenstein, I forgot which one. Or Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, that's when it was really direct. Oh, what was it? Dracula is wanting Frankenstein's monster. Right. And meanwhile, what's the name of the Wolfman's character?
Harry? No, Harry. Oh my God.
This is upsetting because it's one of my favorite
upsetting.
movies.
We're gonna edit this out. They will never know.
They'll never know. We forgot. It's Larry Talbot.
Larry Talbot. Yeah, I knew all along.
I knew that was him. But yeah, it's like Larry then looking for Dracula, for Frankenstein to help him just turn into a human and get rid of the werewolf. So that's where it starts to become more of what we know now as a cinematic universe with all these monsters mashing. Marvel said, oh, let's take that. Let's make it even bigger and have the entire stories correlate with each other. Universal Monsters, some of the first. And Bride of Frankenstein, what was that? Was that after Dracula? It was after Dracula. It was 1935. Dracula was 1933. So I think this is the third or fourth Universal film.
That sounds about right.
And it was directed by James Whale, who is a legend when it comes to
Yes.
all these Universal films. He directed Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein.
He was the Joss Whedon.
Yeah, that's true. Totally, that's absolutely true. Zach, what do you think of Bride of Frankenstein? Why are we talking about Bride of Frankenstein instead of Frankenstein today?
Why are you asking me this? No. As we are talking about, the Dark Universe is still a go, just differently. If anything, more Stephen King-esque, to where they do live in the same universe, but they may not jump on a big like story arc adventure, right? Mm-hmm. Which is fine. But with that said, it's because I know last time I checked, there was in production, it was at least greenlit. I think there was even a writer assigned to it for a Bride of Frankenstein movie. So I think that's the next one. So far we've had The Invisible Man, and now we're gonna have the Bride of Frankenstein, and then as well as the Wolfman. And so far, I believe with the Bride, it's gonna be written by what's her name? Who she? There you go. Elizabeth Banks. Supposedly, she's tasked with writing the Bride.
Okay, well,
and I think directing it.
Okay, hopefully it ends up working out. And like we were talking about with the Dark Universe, I think it was a shame that was gone, because I wanted to see those classic monsters come back to the screen in some way or another. But then Tom Cruise's The Mummy kind of butchered all that.
I don't understand what they were going with that.
I think so. I haven't seen it, but I've seen videos about it. So I don't have a super strong opinion, but from what I kind of know about what happened behind the scenes, is there was a lot of like jumping back and forth creatively between producers and Tom Cruise and director and the writer, which, when that happens, normally that leads to a kind of funky film where it's like, oh, what were they doing really? I know there were aspects of An American Werewolf in London with Jake Johnson's character being dead and talking to Tom Cruise and being like, hey, you got to get rid of this mummy or something like that.
Yeah.
So I get why they pulled the plug, because it did really poorly critically, and I don't know about financially, but if they're probably like, the critics are just going to hate on this, so let's not do it. But it would have been cool to see Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man and, someone else as the Wolfman. But with that said, I do like the fact that we ended up getting the new Invisible Man, because I really like that movie. So,
Yes.
it happens for a reason. Hopefully the Dark Universe continues in some way or another, because I want to see another Wolfman film.
Yeah.
I want to make the Wolfman film, to be clear.
Yeah, I think you should.
And I will.
I will do the concept art for you.
Yes.
And I'll be your DP.
Yes, even better.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Signed on. History in the making right now.
Yeah, right there. Okay. I have an article here from Bloody Disgusting. It was from last 2020, February 12, 2020. And so the headline is Sam Raimi, John Krasinski, Universal still hoping to bring the Bride of Frankenstein back to life.
That's interesting.
Basically, it looks like it's still kind of floating as I kind of skim through here. So I must have gotten my wires crossed thinking Elizabeth Banks was attached to it. She is attached to the Invisible Woman. That's right.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yes, so she's attached to that. Paul Feig is doing a Dark Army. And Paul Feig, I think he's the guy who did the 2016 Ghostbusters.
Oh, he did The Office, didn't he? Oh man, if I just said that and I'm wrong, I'm gonna feel like such an idiot.
Yeah, you looked that up. But yeah, so basically, as you look that up, so yeah, we got him doing Dark Army. We're gonna get a Renfield. Dexter Fletcher.
The
directs
Renfield.
that.
Oh, real quick, Paul Feig is an American
Yeah.
actor and director. He serves as the director and producer for The Office. Okay, so he did a lot of work with The Office and was a supervising director for The Office after season 4. So,
Okay, then yeah, I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
but
Because I was like, not that guy from.
yeah, but it's the same guy who directed Ghostbusters 2016.
Oh, so that is him.
Yes, but he also
No.
he also did stuff with The Office. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, hopefully with the right people, it'll turn out well.
Right, writers and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he directed some good Office episodes.
Yeah,
Dinner
that's what I'm
Party.
saying. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, if he did so well with The Office, what gives?
Yeah.
Why did you do that to my Ghostbusters? So yeah,
So Invisible Woman is the Elizabeth Banks film, which I think there already is an Invisible Woman, correct? Like a Universal
Yeah.
film, and
Yeah.
that's more of like it's not really horror. It ended up turning into like a mystery thriller type film
Yeah.
with some supernatural elements.
yeah. Which is usually the Invisible Man's
Yes, then
type of genre.
because the first Invisible Man was more on the horror side, mad scientist, and then it turned into that. It was like the Invisible Agent, stuff like that, which
Yeah.
makes sense because this was in the 40s when there was war stuff going on.
Yeah. Because yeah, Return of the Invisible Man, it was still following that kind of mad scientist story. To continue with, so yeah, we got Paul Feig who's doing Dark Army. We got Dexter Fletcher doing Renfield. That's exciting.
I'm so excited for that Renfield film.
That is cool.
I think it's such a cool idea to just, for once, take away some attention from Dracula and just put it on
Yes.
Renfield, because Renfield's a cool character.
He was. I want to see him eat spiders.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna be so cool. So cool. So yeah, Elizabeth Banks doing the Invisible Woman. Hopefully, she can redeem herself with that. And then Matt Swatsky's Monster Mash.
Oh my goodness. That's so cool. I would,
Wow.
man, like having a proper, live action Monster Mash film would be so cool. Because the closest thing right now is the comedy Hotel Transylvania. That's the closest thing to
Yes.
like seeing
Which
all
I
the
adore.
monsters. Yes, it's such a good movie. But that one is like a comedic animated film.
Yeah.
Route. I'd like to see a little more kind of serious one. See how they do that. I haven't seen Van Helsing, but isn't
You haven't seen Van Helsing?
no? Isn't
It's
that
good.
Isn't that like a Monster Mash?
Yeah. Well, Van Helsing. Wait, which one are you talking about?
The Hugh Jackman film.
It's not Monster Mash. It's not comedic at all. It's much a serious tone.
Oh, okay. Is it
Yeah,
just
it's
him
good.
hunting vampires? I think that I saw a scene. There's a
Yeah, the
werewolf.
Dracula's in it. Werewolf is in it. I think you'd like it. I think there's. I'm sure, of course. When I watched it, I was Hugh Jackman crazy because of Wolverine.
Yeah.
So I was like, he could do no wrong. And of course, as a monster lover, I love that film, and so I enjoyed it.
That makes sense.
I think it is what it is, right? It's a monster film.
It sounds like a good
Oh, yeah.
popcorn flick.
Oh yeah, definitely late night, great popcorn flick. I love. Every now and then I'll return to it and watch. He has a really cool battle with Hyde.
I'm watching it tomorrow.
yeah, yeah.
That's
You'll
all you
love
had
it.
to say.
Yeah.
Dr.
Oh, yeah.
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's so cool.
Yeah. And I loved their take on him and that. Well, have you seen The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
No, I remember when it came out, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. You might want to watch that because you got an Invisible Man type character in there and a Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde character.
Oh, okay. That's
And
cool.
the approach of Hyde is very similar in that film as it was in Van Helsing.
Van Helsing. Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I could make a Wolfman film or a Jekyll and Hyde film, those are my top 2. Then 3 would be Dracula. Then 4 would be Frankenstein.
Oh, and we got with your Wolfman, you gotta cast David Dastmalchian.
Yes. He would be my number one choice right now, easily.
Me too.
He's got the perfect look. He's got the very charismatic, vibe to him. Mm-hmm. But I could see him playing a broken man easily. Yeah. Based off the Suicide Squad. And, seeing him in Dune, I'm like, okay, this guy has range. Oh, him as Larry. Yeah. Zach, I am telling you. That would be so much fun to make and to pitch.
Just like Hugh Jackman woke up and he's like, yes, you are Logan, you are Wolverine. And just like Robert Downey Jr. woke up and he was born to play Iron Man, David Dastmalchian was born to play Larry Talbot.
Yeah.
Larry Talbot.
Absolutely. He's like I think Lon Chaney Jr. will always be number one. I think he's like this generation's Larry Talbot. Like, he could totally play him. He has such a sweet, innocent kind of feel to him. That's perfect for the character once he has to confront his demons. So, you know what, Zach, we're funding this ourselves. We're making this.
We're doing it. Mm-hmm.
Then we're gonna pitch the film to him, get him on board, hopefully. Then make the film and sell it to Universal.
Yeah, I think that we can wrap that up in about a year, right?
Sure. We'll go to Transylvania, film a few scenes in there for an Easter egg. But
especially his performance in the Dark Knight. I could definitely see the way he did that. It felt very much tortured, kind of like crazy. That's the first time I saw him, was in the Dark Knight. He plays one of Joker's goons.
Oh my goodness, yes, that is him. I actually forgot that. But like seeing a picture of him, I'm like, wait, is he Scarecrow? No, he's not.
No, he's not Scarecrow.
Okay.
No, that's Cillian Murphy.
That was it.
Cillian Murphy.
That was it, yeah.
One of those ways of saying it, yeah.
He would be great. Hopefully one day we can get him to be in the film. But you mentioned John Krasinski is working on the new Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay, so I'm looking at the article here. I see his name, but they're not saying what he was attached to.
He could potentially just be a producer who is trying to help maybe someone smaller in the business get their script up. I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Raimi, hello, yes.
Yeah, oh goodness.
I think that's a perfect director to be part of that.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited that he's doing Doctor Strange.
He's doing Doctor Strange with Danny Elfman. Again, that combo I'm excited for. So that's going to be really fun to see.
Yeah. Did you see, so everyone kind of says that The Mummy was the first film that was going to jumpstart the Dark Universe.
Yeah.
But technically it was Dracula Untold.
Yeah, I didn't watch Dracula Untold, but if I remember correctly, that one also failed really badly. And they were like, no, that wasn't our start. Haha. The Mummy is our start. And I think in between that, there was a Frankenstein movie with wasn't it I, Frankenstein?
Yeah.
I think that was another one that was possibly going to be involved.
I hope not.
And
that couldn't be.
And then the same thing happened where they were like, it has a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. But yeah, I guess if they were thinking about that, then they were like, oh no, that wasn't our start. The Mummy is our start. And then after that, it was like, okay, maybe we have to work on stuff before we keep saying this. And then The Invisible Man, the new one, did well, and they were like, yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
This is our kickstart to this universe.
That's so much better.
Yeah.
The Bride of the Frankenstein poster.
Bride of Frankenstein poster. Well, before I even look at it, every single Universal monster film gets an A+ for me. I literally I have pretty much all the posters in my room just hung up over here. Yeah. So I have Dracula, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, and The Creature from the Black Lagoon just hanging on my walls so that I can remind myself what a good poster looks like. What a classic poster looks like, actually. Yeah. That's the better one.
Yeah, these definitely are that. So yeah, if you're listening, you can follow us along on Instagram to kind of see what we're looking at here. We post the posters we're looking at, as well if you're one of the cool kids, you're listening to this on YouTube.
Yeah.
So you can see what we're talking about.
You can see exactly what we're pointing out. Like the lightning behind the bride.
Yeah.
Which if you're listening to, you probably just have to imagine it.
Yeah, you're just going to have to use your imagination.
I love the tagline.
Yeah.
More fearful. It says, The Bride of Frankenstein. The Bride of Frankenstein, more fearful than the monster itself. Which, the funny thing about that is the bride is barely in the movie.
Yes.
And it's promoted everywhere.
Yeah.
She's literally in the last 5 to 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And for those who don't really watch these kinds of movies, like there's basically no end credits. So, and the movies kind of abruptly end. Would you say so, Zach? I feel like
it does.
So what will happen is like, oh no, the monster's fighting with someone in the last minute. Then a building collapses, and then it says the end. All this happens in like the last 2 minutes. But I love it. I like how it just quickly wraps it up. These are like hour-long movies. They're really short. Yeah, so I always find that funny, how much promotion and how iconic the bride became.
It is. I've always felt torn about how it ends. Because on one end, you're kind of like, you feel kind of cheated out of it, You're like, hey, what happened to the bride?
Yeah.
But then it has such an iconic ending of the monster saying, we belong dead. And pulls down the lever. I mean,
it's sad.
How do you beat that? Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I guess spoiler for, someone who hasn't seen this like 70, 80-year-old movie.
Yeah.
But it ends with So in the book, the Dr. Frankenstein agrees that he's going to make a bride for the monster. And then as he's creating this monster, he's like, you know what? F this. So then he destroys the bride and the monster gets mad, then kills Frankenstein's wife. In this movie, the Dr. Frankenstein,
that's Frankenstein,
actually makes the monster. And then the bride comes to life and she's just kind of screaming for some reason. She doesn't really talk. And then she looks at the monster and that's when she gives her like famous scream and stuff because she's just horrified at what this monster looks like, what Boris Karloff looks like. And then the monster gets kind of heartbroken because he just doesn't want to be lonely. So it's kind of a depressing ending.
It is.
The monster killing each other. Yeah. And the doctors escaping and all that. So then the two creations end up dying. And then you just see the end. And it's like, wow, I just went through that whole ride.
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, you have this whole buildup of, will he create her? Will he create her? Will he create her? And then you're building. She gets made, and you're happy for the monster, and then she completely rejects him.
Totally rejects him.
The monster goes total emo. It's like, we belong. F this.
We belong dead.
Abort.
Total emo. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking because this movie also kind of makes you feel more bad for the monster. In the first one, he's looked at sort of as the villain, but then you see he just doesn't get stuff, so he throws a girl in the pond. He doesn't get it. And this one you see more of that, where he's just like, hey, I literally was just made like a week ago. I don't know anything that's going on, and people are torturing me, and it's kind of a sad story. It's more of a,
it is,
it's not really horror. I say horror a lot when I'm describing these movies, but at the end of the day, they're more like chillers or like spooky films.
I mean, imagine this happening to you. Would you say, oh, my life is so horrifying?
I'd say my life is depressing.
But come on, it would be horrifying.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it is horrifying.
Yeah.
But then horror is such a unique word nowadays where if I can call something like Hereditary a horror film, or Human Centipede a horror film, or Texas Chainsaw or Exorcist, then these movies look really tame. But it is a horror film. It's just like, this is like level 1. Like if you kind of want to, like level 1 to 4. If you want to get into horror, but you can't deal with jump scares, but you like the aesthetic of spooky stuff, I think this is a great spot to start with.
This is how I scale it. You got your basic real human horror, right? Which is universal monsters.
Yeah.
Because you can relate to them. I think most people, especially anyone who feels like an outcast, you relate with the monsters.
Yeah.
And then the other side of the scale, I like to call the demented side.
Yes.
And that's where most of horror today lives.
Yeah.
I say we went full demented in 70s. I'd say the 70s as a good starting point when it started tilting more that way.
Because that's when demonic horror just blew up. I don't know. Like it just blew up. That's when gore started to really pick up.
Around that time, that's when you had maybe the late 60s into the 70s, you had the Hammer films.
Yes.
Which took the beloved horror Universal, well, at least Dracula. I'm not sure about. No, they did it with the Wolfman.
They did a version of it was, I think, just one movie, but the most popular was Frankenstein and Dracula. Horror of Dracula and Curse of Frankenstein.
Right. And they really pushed it to more of that side, which you lost some of that relate because it was so grotesque visually.
Yes.
At least in my opinion.
For that time, yeah. Because and then also another thing was like the sex appeal also came up a lot. There was blood now. It was in color, which I think it was a good reimagine. I think it was a great reimagining because they were like, we've done the tame Universal horror films. Let's amp it up a little more for new audiences. And it works. And since then, we haven't really had stuff. I mean, we had the 90s Dracula and Frankenstein films with Bram Stoker and Mary Shelley. I don't find those too memorable. I don't know if you've seen them, but I found Dracula really fine. I personally didn't love it or anything. I was just like, okay. But
is that Bram Stoker's?
Yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula with Keanu Reeves.
Gary Oldman?
And Gary Oldman. I think Gary Oldman's great in everything. My tier would probably be, I think I like Horror of Dracula the most. And then underneath that, Dracula from 1931. And then a few levels down, that's where I'd put Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I think they followed the Hammer path with that one, at least with the sex. They really.
Oh yeah. They Bram Stoker's Dracula is
I was like, okay, I read the book. This is nothing like that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about how the bride was barely in the movie.
But she's promoted in all these posters.
And all these posters.
Which I don't blame them because she looks awesome. And these posters look awesome.
Iconic, It's I honestly wish we would go more like this with posters. To me, if you saw this in the hallway, you'd be like, oh, whoa, what's this? Because it's so visually different with the different color palette, custom hand-painted type.
Unfortunately, this is where it sucks because I remember in high school and stuff, there were some people who would just destroy anything older than 2008 or 2005. So people who see a poster that looks like this, they're just going to automatically assume it's going to be a really boring film for some reason. I guess it's because, admittedly, a lot of the older films do have a slower pace. I don't think that means they're bad films at all. I think it just means you need to have a little more patience. But in this world where we live in of 10-second content, I guess that's a fear for youths. But I agree with you. If I did a film and if I had say in the poster, I'd want something like this because I feel like it's just different. We've seen the posters with the floating faces and all that. But seeing something like this where it's a little more, I'd say it's a little more simple when you think about it. It's just kind of showcasing a monster and it has the title. But it looks so cool because it's hand illustrated. And like you said, the font is unique. It just feels really organic. But I understand why they don't do it, unfortunately. Some people are, anything that looks old to them, they're probably like, no. But then there's stuff like Stranger Things that comes out. And it just proves that, oh no, okay, people were really into that. So I think depending on the director and the script, they could put a creative spin on it and kind of bring it back.
I disagree with you, Renee. I think if this stuff was put out, if posters were like this, it would work. To me, the studios just they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
If people, especially if the youths of today look at a like this poster or any poster like this of that time, they probably think, oh, it's some boring movie. But if you did this, if you would have taken this style and used the style for let's say the Twilight series,
that'd be interesting.
That would have worked. It's just reintroducing that style to today's audience.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. No, like I do agree, and I think, that's kind of why I mentioned Stranger Things, where that introduced that 80s style artwork back into modern audiences, and now you see a lot of people wearing sweatshirts of that. So I think the same could potentially happen with this film. But whatever film does it first they'd have to be really confident, and I think it'd have to be really solid, because then if they can get fans, then people are going to be like, that poster is awesome, and it's going to bring back all these posters. A lot of artists who hand illustrate their posters would get more work.
Answer me this, mister. Answer me this. You just don't see today's posters on t-shirts, right?
Yeah, that's kind of rare.
But you would see this poster on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
I think it would translate pretty well to a t-shirt. You see that a lot, like with the brand Heroes and Villains.
Yes.
Who, it's Star Wars, and I think it's mostly Star Wars. That's the IP they use.
That makes sense.
So they'll use a lot of older posters of Star Wars and make these really cool t-shirts out of it. So with that in mind, I'm like, well, if we make more really cool painted or illustrative posters, they're going to be easier to translate to t-shirts, which people will be more psyched to wear as a t-shirt. Anybody now with Photoshop, anybody can get Photoshop and make
uTorrent exists.
Go to Google a bunch of images, download them, cut them out, make your little comp, your little collage, Photoshop, and boom, look at me, I'm a poster designer.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot. And in a way, yeah, that empowers the small filmmaker, the indie filmmaker, the no budget filmmaker to feel like, oh, look, I can have a poster that looks like a blockbuster film. But do you really want that? I'm like, come on.
No, I'm just,
no.
Well, I know what you mean now. I get what you're trying to say.
I'm trying to find these directors, these up and coming directors, these no budgeters. They're like, look, hey, I want to make posters like this that's gonna look better than your blockbuster films, because they all look the same now.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would want your film to look like a blockbuster film, really, to me anymore. So why not make it look really cool and possibly put it on a t-shirt? Make people want your poster.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Because looking at this one with the bride, I'm like, oh, what kind of story is this?
Yes.
It doesn't give anything away. It's just them and this really interesting composition, and it's just, you don't see that.
It's kind of like you said, anybody can get Photoshop nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes away a little bit of when I see a poster like this, for example, I'll look at that and I'm just impressed by the fact that someone painted this by hand, scanned it, and now we're seeing it across the world. Like, that's so impressive to me, and they're really getting to showcase their talents. And so being able to do Photoshop is a talent, but more people can do it. You know what I mean? Like, it feels a little less special, especially nowadays that there's so many resources. But someone who can do a great illustration, if I see that, I'm so incredibly impressed, and it makes me want to support their artwork, which is why then we'll have, we'll spotlight artists on this, because it's just such a difficult craft. I don't draw. Every time I try, I know how hard it is. I know how time consuming it is. I hear stuff about shading and doing all this and using different pens, and I can't even I can't grasp that.
You can't even grasp a pencil.
No.
That's a challenge for you.
No, this isn't even a joke. I wish I was joking. I haven't written with a pencil in a while.
Oh,
like
yeah,
a good while.
It hurts my hand to write now.
Yeah.
It hurts. It is painful to write a sentence.
I type everything out now.
It's sad how weak we've become. I feel that challenge myself because so many people have Photoshop now that anybody can go grab an image, cut it out, and make something. You see it all the time, especially with Marvel movies. There's people just cranking out these fan posters of images from just stills online, or they'll go take a screenshot of the trailer and they'll just pump out these posters. And I'm like, ugh. And it makes me go, okay, I really got to step up my game. I really got to press further into this application and find new tools because what I used to do isn't good enough anymore because anybody can do that. So on one hand, it's a good thing because it pushes me further and I have to sharpen my skills. But at the same time, it's a bit annoying. Especially, like I mentioned, I'm trying to get the attention of...
I'm looking at the poster and just a small little detail that I'm noticing is how the bride's face looks kind of three-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And then as the hair is going up, you could see how it turns into a 2D illustrate. It just looks so cool. Small little features like that where, no, the monster looks pretty three-dimensional, but that's all painted. That's just different color. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just mind-blowing to me. Hopefully, I could see these posters coming back in some shape or form. You know, there's different trends that happen in the world. You know, we went through, I feel like the early 10s when it comes to hair, you saw a lot of that greaser look. A few years ago, there was a lot of 80s themed stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know what we're in now, honestly. But
it's an 80s, 90s
I could see
milkshake.
A little bit of the 90s, some 70s.
Yeah.
It's like those 3 decades, 70s, 80s, 90s.
I'd say.
So yeah, maybe one day, maybe in 2030, celebrating the 100th anniversary of these films.
Or you know what, Renee, it will be us. We will start now. We'll just take our time. We'll take our time developing our Wolfman.
Oh yeah.
And our poster will be sick like that.
Yeah.
I hope.
Oh no.
I will try my hardest to do it like that.
It'll happen. I believe it. I
think it's sponsor time.
Sponsor time.
So this episode is brought to you by Cinemarama Home Video.
Cinemarama. Well, we were just talking about posters. What better way to showcase your poster than on a VHS cover? Am I right, Zach?
Yes. Haven't you used this service?
Yes, I've used it twice for a horror film that I wanted a VHS of and one of a collection of my short films from high school that I wanted to gift to a friend. So this could also work as a gift. If, let's say, you're like me and you did a lot of movies with your friends in high school and one of them's moving away, so you want to get them something nice. Well,
that's nice.
Get them something from Cinemarama Home Video. You'll get custom artwork, and later on, you'll get you could also get a blank VHS tape where you can put all your movies in. Then you'll have that memory forever.
Yes, you'll have that memory.
Cinemarama Home Video, making memories.
Yeah, making memories. So yeah, let's get those modern movies onto VHS, and the world will be a better place. And we're back to your regular programming. Make sure your socks are clean.
I really hope you're... I was going to say... I don't know why I was going to say... I was going to say I really hope you're wearing socks, but I'm like, I don't care.
You better damn care I'm wearing socks.
Oh, goodness.
Tells a lot about a man if he wears his socks.
You wear socks. Do you wear socks when you go to bed? Or is that... Okay. I sometimes do. And I feel like
I do
it's
if
weird.
I'm cold. If I have very cold, then I will. But
for the most part, I'm like, why? Why would you restrain yourself?
Well, you need to let those puppies breathe for at least 8 hours before you stuff them back into socks. Let's quickly look at the number 2 poster before we move on to our featured artist and wrap it up. This one is like a more tall vertical poster, and you got this really cool hand lettered saying, "Warning, the monster demands a mate." And then it says Korolev in The Bride of Frankenstein. I just love the type of these old posters. It's just knowing what's involved when you're painting type. It's so annoying.
I can imagine.
But fulfilling once you're done. The process is terrible. My hand hurts. It's stressful, but once you're done and you step away and you look at it, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is the cover they use a lot for the DVD. I remember seeing this a lot. What I like about this is how you have the bride, down here in the lower right corner. And we all know how her hair looks like. It's very Marge Simpson-esque. And in that hair, you see kind of, I guess, the monster's head pop out. And I believe behind him is Dr. Frankenstein's wife.
That's Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I think
that
that's
looks
her.
like her.
I don't know.
It has to be her.
It's gotta be her.
Would it make sense? There's no other female
In
that movie.
Yeah, in the beginning of the movie, there's a character named Mary Shelley, obviously because of the author of the original book. And I know Mary Shelley is the same actress who plays the bride.
Elsa Lancaster, I think that's her.
That could maybe be her. But then I'm like, why would you put her on the poster? But it looks cool. Nonetheless, I don't know why she's on the poster, but she looks pretty cool.
I love how they painted her.
Yeah. I love the lighting with the monster also.
I look at this and it frustrates me because to me, you could use this style for any poster. Yeah, these are horror posters, but I'm like, you could still kind of take these colors, the idea, the custom type, and you could still do a rom-com.
Yeah.
That style.
That'd be fun.
Any genre, really.
Yeah.
And that will get butts in seats. Mm-hmm. It will intrigue people.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not that hard, people.
Because this is interesting. Visually, it's just, it'll definitely grab your attention if you're at your local Cineplex.
Definitely, if you're at your local Cineplex. They're very attention grabbing. They do their job, and they do not feel like these just mass market Photoshop things.
Yeah.
That we see today. It's a nice, refreshing path.
Yeah.
And I stand my ground. There's no excuse why we can't do this.
We gotta do it.
You can still show the actors if you must.
Yeah.
But today's artist is Mark Levy or Levy. I'm not sure.
I think it's
Maybe
Levy.
Levi or Levy. Levy. We hope to have him on again. We hope to have him as a guest on the podcast so we can talk more about his posters. Well, the reason why I picked Mark is because he actually did a Bride of Frankenstein poster.
Yes, and
it is amazing.
It's essentially just a profile illustration of the bride. But you get to see all that, hair really, it's taking up a lot of the frame. I love how kind of gothic this looks and the very backlit nature of the lighting.
Yeah,
basically.
it's a black and white. Yeah, it's a black and white color palette. And yeah, like you said, it's a profile shot of her. And I kind of like it because it kind of follows the idea of the last poster where her hair travels up the poster.
I love that. It's specifically like there's one stripe that just shot that it's just shining. But this is really simple, but what I like about it is how well drawn it is. It's extremely well drawn. The detail on her faces it's just enough, and I like how she has the scars going like by her jawline.
This is to me, this is a good first step to the posters that we were just looking at. That is a good way of approaching that
because this feels modern.
Yeah, it feels modern, but it's definitely taking note, it's honoring those posters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think definitely, obviously, those posters that we want to see, it would be very hard for the studio to accept. I think if you brought this to the studio, it's a lot more palatable for them, and they would be like, okay, I see. I think I will. You got something going, Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
And I'll green light this. Can you see that happening? Did I paint the picture?
I could see that happening, Zach.
Okay.
I think you painted it perfectly.
What do you think of the type?
My first thought was The Bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
That it looks
Yeah.
exactly like the type for that film with the cursive, The Bride of, and then Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
It wouldn't have been my first choice, but looking at it, I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
It grew on me. It felt right. Because I feel like it should be, I feel like we wouldn't get, we would not be allowed to have.
Yeah.
And so this is a great way of bridging. It's a good compromise.
Yes.
I feel like
I get that.
Because the word Frankenstein
That's Frankenstein.
is closer to where I would want it to be. And so with the words the bride of in that script font, it pairs well with the chunky font for Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
We move to the American Werewolf.
This is
in London.
beautiful. Bloody, beautiful. Beware the moon. Yeah, so this is another sort of profile shot of the werewolf with its mouth open. And there's just blood everywhere.
Everywhere.
And right behind all that blood and all the werewolf, you see, what is it? Is it a clock tower?
It's Big Ben.
It's Big Ben. Yes.
Yeah.
We know it's nighttime. And also there's, that whole scene in the end. But yeah, I think this looks awesome. This is a beautiful illustration. And it's scary.
really is.
If a kid saw this, he'd probably have nightmares.
I'm going to have nightmares. What I like about it is the execution of it. It's very expressive, very fast, hard, aggressive type painting style, brushstrokes.
Yeah.
And I like that because it pairs well with the blood splattering that canvases the canvas.
Yeah.
And so the way Mark approached it, I think it mimics the violence of the film, the ferociousness of the film.
Totally
and then you
agree.
have the title. It's so delicate, just white letters. It almost like if you had to say it, it'd be like An American Werewolf in London.
In London. Yeah.
And then you got this completely savage, bloody imagery. That leads us to the Godzilla.
It's cool.
King of the Monsters.
Yes, the 2019 film, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
This is cool because I think I've seen this before. Like, I don't know when he made this, but I swear I've come across this artwork before. So it's actually really cool you bring this up. First of all, I like his decision for choosing the scene where Godzilla's being attacked by King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Because that scene
It is.
was scary. I like the helicopters in the back. I like the logo. I like the red in the background, which kind of gives off not only either a sunset or sunrise feeling, but the yellow from King Ghidorah and with the red background kind of reminds me of how in the end of the film you see, I guess, Super Godzilla, where he's just fired up and he's just ready to explode with lava or something, but he's all red. So I wonder if that
He's
was
atomic.
Atomic. I think that's the official name. It's like Atomic Godzilla. So yeah, I like that contrast. I don't know if that was done on purpose. I kind of feel like it maybe was mixing the red with the yellow and then Godzilla's natural blue. I remember this movie did a cool thing where each monster had their own poster.
Yeah.
I like that.
character.
It was a character posters.
Yeah.
That was cool.
But I liked that.
But it's exactly what you said. I do like the poster for the film, but this is cooler.
Because wasn't it? They were silhouettes, right?
It was Godzilla with his head kind of tilted back, shooting his atomic breath in the air, and then at the bottom it said Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Right.
I think it was cloudy and rainy and stuff.
I mean, I like the idea. I'm looking up the character posters for each monster. Okay, so yeah, they're basically your photograph kind of style.
Yeah.
CGI. So yeah, that's what I didn't like about it. I mean, yeah, it was almost like they wanted to show off the great work of the artists who created the CG monsters. But you really don't see a lot of detail.
Yeah, no, I think they could have easily illustrated because, like you said, there's not a lot of detail, so they could have done something.
So
I will say Godzilla is an entire episode by itself.
Yes,
There's
yeah.
so many Godzilla posters. So that'll be fun one day when we get to that.
So yeah, this poster, final verdict, should have been what we should have got.
Yeah.
That should have been
It
it.
looks really fun.
That's exciting.
If it had
And
Mothra
that-
somewhere, I'd say it's perfect.
Yeah. So that leaves us with the last poster, the 1917. And I really liked what he did.
It feels like it was made in 1917. It
Right.
feels very much in that time, like some comic book or some, the war propaganda type illustration that you would see.
Right.
That's the vibe I'm getting from this. And it's pretty much all red and white and black.
It's basically 2 colors, red and white and black. So 3, but
3.
So what I like about it is the whole movie is from the perspective of one soldier, right?
Yeah.
And so this poster, point of view of the poster is you're in the trenches with the soldiers.
Yes. Yeah, that's
And
true.
with the sketch style of the poster, it almost feels like you had the soldier, like this is the soldier sketch.
Yeah.
He sketched himself with his battalion in the trenches. He's documenting this moment. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
It has that intimacy.
That kind of grungy texture to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. And I do see the first person point of view thing now where it's,
Right.
there's a scene of him. He's trying to get past a lot of people to go tell, I guess, the general to call
Right.
it off or something. His goal is to get to him. And there's all these people.
Yeah.
So.
There's just really another cool note. Again, this is just pure speculation. I don't know Mark's brain. Hopefully, if we have him on the podcast, he can give us the details of what his idea was with this. But what I like about it, obviously, it's a war movie. So this idea of like pretty much the image being mostly black and the only highlights are red. So you just have this
like
red
that.
blood. This is war. It's bloody. I only see 2 colors, red and black.
Yeah.
And the only way and the safe haven where you're the only place you're safe is in the trench, and that's white. So it's really
I
just
like
cool
that a lot.
imagery. Good job, Mark. We hope to see you on this podcast. I think we did it, Renee.
Once again,
We-
Zach, we have done it.
We have done our duty.
We've talked about the Universal monster films a bit, the Dark Universe, Bride of Frankenstein, and Mark Levy's artwork. And some of Godzilla even. We threw in a little bit of Godzilla.
Yeah, a little bit of Godzilla.
Yeah. I'd say today was a
little bit.
successful episode.
So if you want to see Mark Levy's art, you can go to trafficcone.info. Thanks for visiting your local podcast.
That is true. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far,
Yeah.
it really is for me incredible the idea that people are listening to us. Like it,
It's an honor.
Yeah, because for me, this is very much like a very fun, just get to hang out and talk. So, if someone's listening, thank you so much for getting to this
Wait,
point.
someone's listening? I thought this was just you and me.
Crap. Someone's always listening. Count us down, Mark. Zach. Oh, no. Count us down.
Well, anyways, thank you for listening to your local Cineplex podcast
over. You see, he just doesn't get stuff, so he throws a girl in the pond.